In this exercise, we're going to create a new report that uses a form or an image of a form as its background, and then use specific positioning to place the required data objects from the data view onto the report. For the first part of this lab, we're going to go ahead and create a new report and provide the form image as its background. So let me go to File, New. I'm going to do a report, and I want to do a new empty report. I'm going to go ahead and save this report. I want it to be in the bin subdirectory, and I'm going to give it a name of order invoice. So the report we're going to do is going to be an invoice for every order in our system. Let me go ahead and save it into my report subdirectory. And now I have a blank report, and all it's comprised of right now is the page root. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my toolbox. I'm going to take an image box, and I'm going to drag and place that in the upper corner of my report. I want to format this image box, so let me go ahead and select the image box, go to its properties page. I'm going to change the name from image box 2 to be invoice image. I'm going to change its X size property to be max, so it takes up the full width. I'm going to change the Y size property to be max. And the last thing I'm going to do is go down into the location. Now I've provided an image PNG file, so I can navigate. I'm going to go into, I've provided a form subdirectory, and I have this image of an invoice. And if we look at it, it's an image that can be any sort of image file you have, you can provide it the background. So you'd scan your forms, save them as image files, and those now become the backgrounds to your reports. I need to go to my data view, and I now need to associate the fields that are going to come in. I can open my schema file. I need to go and find my storeorder.rdd. I open it up, and now I have the fields that I'm also going to be able to drag onto this form. At this point, let's go and save our new form. With our invoice image on the form itself and with our fields ready to place, I'm going to go to the report structure. With this report structure, I want a new page for every new order that comes in. So I'm going to take my page root and I'm going to make it a child of the order number trigger. I'm going to then take my on every row and make it a child of the invoice image. So now with each new order, I'm going to get a new page, a new report page, and then every row related to that order is going to be placed on wherever I specify it to exist on that invoice image. Let's go ahead and place the order information onto this image. I'm going to move this so I have as much room as possible. Expand the size a bit. So for example, I want to put my store number. I need to locate the store number. So I can grab the store number and I'm just dragging it and dropping it where I want it to be placed. I can resize it if I like. But I want it to appear inside of that store number box. Let me go ahead and shrink that down. Okay, what other ones do I want to place? I want to place the store name. I can take the store name. You'll see the line appearing that allows me to help line these up. I drop it where I want it to appear. I want to enter in the contact information. So I find my contact name. I will stick that in. I want to add in some address information. So I have my first address. I have my address 2. I want to have my city. Okay, I can move these around once they're placed. After the city, I'm going to put a state. And I'm going to put my zip code. Now, I'm not going to do it on the video, but if I wanted to place in commas, if I wanted to make separators, I would have the opportunity to do all that by dragging on additional word boxes. I want to place also now the order number. And I want to place the order date. And for my order information, that's enough for right now. The last thing I want to do is place my order total where it needs to be placed on this form. So if I look at the form, let me expand this back out. Well, here's an order total, so I can drag that order total, place it in the form. And that seems to be the only place I need to put it. So I have an order total now placed. The next thing I want to do is provide an area for all the items to display on this form. So let me go ahead and decrease the size of this form right now so that we can see it. I'm going to actually move my output tab as low as I can. Actually, I'm going to remove it right now completely. And then I'll remove the report structure right now completely and the properties tab completely. What I want to do is be able to view the entire items order area. Again, because I'm trying to record the videos, I sometimes have to make this smaller than I would like. You would probably have a much bigger working space on your screen. Now, using specific positioning, I want to add a vertical box to the form. So I grab my vertical box, and again, without holding the control key, I can come and I can drag and drop it. And for this, I'm taking up the entire position where items could go. Now, our assumption is that we're never going to have more items than would actually appear within the space here on this invoice. So let me go ahead and drag this out. And now I've taken up that entire space with my vertical layout node. Let me go ahead and review the report structure. If I go to my window and my views, I can go and add that structure pane back. I'm adding this back because underneath this layout node, I want to rename it. And I'm going to call this now item layout node. Now within this item layout node, now I want to take this item layout node and I'm going to put it above the on every row trigger. And then I'm going to make the on every row trigger a child of this item layout node. So you'll see that my customer and order information is still a child of the invoice image, but now underneath the on every row, I'm going to be adding the item detail. Using that dynamic layouting, I'm going to add a stripe as a child of the on every row. So let me go and find my stripe. I can double click, and now it's made as a child of that on every row. I'm going to go ahead and rename this so that it says item stripe. And now within this item stripe, I'm going to go and start adding the items as I want them to appear. So let me go to my data view. Let me go, and now we're dealing with the table format again. We're making kind of a mini list report here. Let me go ahead and select the table column volume object icon. And now I want to add the values that are specified on the form for each of these rows. So I need to add, I have a stock number first. I need a factory code next. Go across and read. We want an item description next. We want a unit description next. I need the quantity. I need the price. And the last thing I bet is the item total. And the item total, you'll notice we don't have a value for that, so I need to calculate it. So I need to add one of those decimal format boxes. And on that decimal format box, I'm going to have to go through the process of arranging its properties. Let me bring my properties tabs back so that I can calculate the item value. And under the miscellaneous, now I'm going to go ahead and add my expression. And if we recall, our expression is going to be data.items.quantity times the data.items.price. Let me go back and look at my report structure again. I'm going to rename this decimal format box so that it says item total value, so I know what it is. And again, we have the wrap situation. Let me expand this out. And now, since we're dealing with a form, I need these to be spaced properly. And this is where I have to go through and just start arranging them according to the GUI. So let me expand it out. I want to be able to visually see it all. So the first one, my stock num. Remember, if you only see 4 dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, you know that it's going to resize with the X and the Y remaining in proportion. In this case, I don't want to do that, so I want my 8 dots, so when I drag it over, it's just going to fit it inside of that stock number area. I want to size my fact code. Let me go over. I want my description to take up the entire description space. I want my unit to take up the entire unit description column. I want my quantity to only take up the space provided in the quantity. I want my price to only take up the space provided in the price. And the last thing is I'm going to want that item total to only take up the space provided in that item total column. If I decrease the size now so that you can view it, and then let me shift these around, you can see that we now have our row repeating, and each field is positioned appropriately within its column. We should now be ready to execute and test this out, so I'm going to go ahead and save my form. I'm going to go into my project. I need to modify my report name so it's calling this order invoice. Save those changes. I need to go and rebuild this. And then I'm ready to execute. We execute, and now you can see that I have my invoice form. The fields fill out as I've told them to fill out, and each of the items is printed, and each order is here on a separate page. Now, if you wanted to, you could go and you could right align the store number and the order number. You could work this area such that if there is no address to, this line disappears. There's a lot of formatting I could go back and do. But in general, you've now seen how we can go out there, take a form, place it into a report, move the fields onto that report, and have it print out using that form.